Hello everyone and welcome back to the Knit Witch podcast. My name is Katie and I am the Knit Witch. It has been quite a while since I recorded last, so please excuse me if it takes me a little bit to get back into the swing of things with my usual bountiful energy. It's also quite early in the morning. It's just about 8 a.m. here in Rhode Island, where I am from. And like I said, it's been quite a while since I podcasted, so I do have quite the multitude of things to share with you today. Let's start off with what I am wearing because I always forget to do this for some reason. This is my single malt sweater. I was actually wearing it last episode of the podcast, and I mentioned that I specifically wore it because it was very cold out, and this is a very insulating sweater. The same is true for today. I just have it on over a flannel, so it's a little bit bulky, I will say. That just comes with the fact that the flannel is a larger size than the sweater, so it's a lot of fabric, but hey, insulation, am I right? So, got that out of the way. Good thing I remembered. Let's jump into finished objects. This is a knitting podcast, isn't it? So, oh my goodness. The very first finished object, we'll just get this one right out of the way. I do not have to share with you in my physical possession. That's because it was the pair of commission socks for my old coworker. She had requested just a pair of gray ribbed socks, which I so graciously made for her. So I can insert pictures. I actually don't know which side. Is it on this side? It might be on that side. I can insert pictures of the finished object, but those were finished. I showed them last episode of the podcast. I did show them, and they were finished very soon after that episode, so they just went straight off to her, and she has been loving them and wearing them, and we can talk a little bit more about that in the whip section. A little foreshadowing for you. So that is my first finished object, done and dusted. My second finished object is also a pair of socks. These socks are for me, which you guys have never seen a pair of socks for me before on this podcast because the last pair of socks I knit for myself was last July, I believe. I was going to say last summer, but if I'm remembering correctly, it was July. So these, why don't I just show them, right? This is a pair of broken ribbed socks. 56 stitches for myself. I'm trying to debate what's like the best way to show it to you. Is it just one at a time? So this is the front, and then the back. It's biasing a little bit, so it's not super centered, but just got some broken rib, toe up with a heel flap and gusset. If you have watched my podcast for any length of time, you know what I'm about to say. I dyed this yarn myself. I specifically made these to match the socks that I knit for my boyfriend for Valentine's Day. That was quite a mouthful of a sentence. This design will be my next published pattern. We're not going to get into that yet because I believe the publishing date is still about a month away, so we can talk about that more when the date gets closer, but this is just the size small of my pattern, broken rib sock, and it's for me. Toe up, heel flap, and gusset. I haven't worn these yet. Okay, now that I'm starting to talk about it, all of the information's just flooding back. I knit these toe up magic loop, size US 1, 2.25 millimeter needle. As I've mentioned multiple times now, heel flap and gusset construction. I feel like all of the information I was about to say just flooded out of my head, but these are going to be a pattern sample. Non-superwash yarn, 80/20 4-ply. So luxurious. I believe it's 19 microns, and it's just like the softest yarn you've ever felt. I haven't worn these yet because I still have to take pictures with them, so I didn't want to like get them all dirty from the floors and stuff. Not that my floors are dirty, but you know, they just like collect little dusts and lints and stuff. You know how when you wear socks they get dirty. Yeah, okay. Enough explaining about that, right? So that is my second finished object. You have seen those before, so if you have watched previous episodes, you can fill in the blanks. I am so sorry I'm not up to my normal self yet. It's because I've only had 1 cup of coffee when I usually have about 2 or 3. I think that's the culprit. Next finished object. Come on, Katie, get excited. Next finished object is my neon Mussel Faker hat. Let me undo it, unfold it, yes, unfold it, so you can see it in all of its glory. I don't even know, will it fit in the frame? Maybe horizontally, you can see my little face. So, this is a double thickness hat, as you may have gathered. So I kind of fudged this design. It's based on the Mussel hat, which is a pattern by Isolde Teague, and the premise of that hat is that you have two crowns, one at each end, and then one gets folded inside the other like this, and it is fully reversible. So I did not have this done last time. I was quite a ways off from finishing it last time. And now it's done. And it's, like I mentioned previously, it's too big for me because I completely forgot about negative e's when I was doing my math. And so I just, did my math based off the actual diameter circumference of my head. And then when I tried it on, I was like, somehow it's too big. So, like I said previously, fits my boyfriend perfectly. So this is actually, now that we're talking about it, this is the increase side. See all those blues? So that's my increase crown. And then when we flip it inside out, come on, this is my decrease crown, which I really enjoy. I actually did, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but I did SSK decreases instead of knit two togethers. I don't know why. Usually when I'm just like self-drafting a hat or whatever you would call that, just like making up a hat, I usually just go with knit two together because that's basic. But yeah, I don't know why SSKs were calling to me for this. But yeah, you can see that this crown is far more pink. So it's really cool. Very happy with this. Shall I put it on? I feel like we're getting a bit blown out. Oh no. Now I've ruined my hair for the rest of the episode. I am in front of a window, so I'm sorry if it's a little bit washed out, a little bit blown out. The sun is coming and going, as is the way of nature. We do appear to be having some storm clouds roll in, so we will see how much the lighting changes. But yes, we have one finished Mussel hat. Mussel Faker is what I call it because I don't think I mentioned this, even though I've mentioned it countless times in countless past episodes. The Mussel hat as written has a box-shaped crown, and I prefer a windmill, spiral, circle, whatever you would like to call this. I prefer this type of crown, increase and decrease, with your little pie pieces. That's just my preference, so I made my own little pattern. And this hat is super warm, as I mentioned, a little bit too much positive ease for me, but it is still very, very warm. This, I definitely did not say, this yarn is Old Rusted Chair is the yarn dyer, and this colorway is Don't Forget Your Shades, because it's quite neon. Yeah, that's a good shot. You can see there's yellow and pink and black and red and blue and green, all beautiful colors. And my boyfriend gets a ton of wear out of this hat, and he claims it is the warmest hat I've ever made. And I've made him an Aran weight stranded colorwork hat, and he claims that this fingering weight Mussel is warmer than that. So if you needed any pushing on your decision to make a Mussel apparently it's the warmest hat ever. So those are all my finished objects for today, and let us move on to whips, I guess. Works in progress, in case you are new here. Call them whips. So let's just stick with this Mussel theme, and I can show you my second Mussel which will also end up going to my boyfriend because same stitch counts. And I love this stinking yarn, dude. I love this yarn so much. So last time I had just finished with the crown increases. You can see those beautiful little spirals. Just finished with the crown increases last time, and as you can see, we've made some progress. So this yarn, I did dye it myself. I can see there's some some light happening behind me, sorry. This yarn I did dye myself. This was a swatch skein for, I like ordered a buttload of acid dyes from Dharma, and I had cool tone swatch skein and a warm tone swatch skein. This was the cool tone one. So I'm about halfway done, just about halfway. And like I said, this will be going to my boyfriend because it is the exact same stitch counts as the neon Mussel Faker hat, so I know it will fit him. I originally had joked about intentionally making this a little bit too small for him so that I would get to wear it, but I started it before I realized that I had forgotten about negative ease. So it will actually fit him perfectly and be a tad too big for me. So there it is. My second Mussel Faker, all beautiful blues and greens. So happy with that. Okay, I don't think you've seen, oh, totally lied. I was about to say I don't think you've seen any of the other works in progress that I'm working on. That was just a statement that was untrue. So this is actually a half finished object and you have not seen it since I cast it on. And this is a little matching fingerless mitt that I made to match with my boyfriend, hence the term matching. So for, oh gosh, was it Christmas? I can't remember, or maybe it was just because, you know. So my boyfriend had requested a pair of fingerless mitts that he could use while he flies his drones. My boyfriend and my dad both enjoy flying RC planes and drones and such. Currently it is winter in New England, so needless to say, it is quite cold and there's a little bit of wind chill in there too, so I just made him a pair of fingerless mittens so that he could still play with his joysticks. I regretted it as soon as I thought it, and then I had to say it. So back on track, shall we? So for him, I did slightly smaller stitch counts for me, but same basic premise. So cast on at the cuff, let me just, like, you know, cover my face. So cast on at the cuff, work some increases for the thumb, and then I have this, I can't put it on because my wrists are confined in my sweater, but I have this little like rib detailing. You can see it if I spread it out for you. And then just ribbing on the fingers. And then for him, I actually picked up and knit a thumb to try and keep his thumb warm, but I really truly hate knitting thumbs. So for me, I just gave myself a hole. And that'll be good enough because I would rather just have a hole than have to knit a thumb because I hate knitting thumbs. So finished this. I finished this and I have not cast on the second mitten. So this one is for my left hand. For him, I did the ribbing like on the pointer finger section, and for me, I did it on the pinky finger section. So this is for my left hand. Kind of looks like a little fish, but okay. Let's move on. Oh my goodness. Can you tell? I am not caffeinated yet. Well, I am, but I'm not adequately caffeinated yet. Okay. I am saving the best whip for last, so let's just move on. And as I mentioned in the finished object section, my coworker who requested the charcoal gray rib socks loved them so much that she requested another pair, and she requested them to be, oh yeah, baby, look at that, a beautiful like neon orangey red shade. And it was at this point where I was like, is she just copying the socks that I've knit for my boyfriend? Because the first pair of socks I ever knit for my boyfriend were a pair of charcoal gray rib socks. That's actually how I designed my pattern. And then the second pair that I knit for him to test my pattern was a pair of orangey red. Well, he called them really red. His really red socks. That's what he requested. I'm going into too many details. And so my coworker, she requested a charcoal gray pair of rib socks and then a really red pair of rib socks. And I'm like, girl, I'm getting insane deja vu. Just, you know, it's like correlation without causation, but I'm just like, I have knit this sock before, you know? So this is again my pattern. It's called a better rib sock. It's got ribbing on the foot and on the leg, and it's toe up, heel flap, and gusset. So many words. And these are being knit on a US 1 2.25 millimeter 9-inch circular needle. I've really grown to love a 9-inch circular because you can just like go and go and go. You know how with magic loop you have, when you get to the end of your row, you have to pull your needle through and knit the other side. So it takes a little bit longer, and then on 9-inch circular it's just like boop, now I have a sock. What else should I say about this? This sock is almost done. It's like, you know, aggressively red and orange. I actually don't know if you'll be able to see any of the variation that's in there. It's real subtle. But maybe you can see it in the heel flap if I can flatten that thing out for you. I also can't get my hand in there because I'm being constricted by the sweater. Usually I'd put my hand in the sock and spread out the ribbing for you, but that is the heel flap. Oh, can you see the shift in light? See, now this, I would consider this great lighting, but I'm sure the sun will come back out momentarily. So, come on, baby. Show me that heel. Yeah, it's blowing out the camera. It is that bright. Absolutely that bright in real life, too. It's crazy. So these will be for her. This is the first sock. It's almost done. I counted my rows on the leg this morning. I think I had like 55, and I think for her I do a 75 round leg. So, and then I was knitting on this morning too. So I'm probably almost done. I'm probably around between 65 and 70 rows done on this leg, just by guesstimating. So this sock is almost done, and then I'll have to do, you know, the second sock and give them to her. But yep, that is whip number 2. I am just not in order today. Oh my goodness. Next up, let me show you. You have seen this yarn before if you watched last episode of the podcast. There's that dang sun again. So this is actually a half finished object, and all my yarns are getting tangled together. This is a half finished object. These are going to be socks for my boyfriend. These look real cool, don't they? So this is again my newest, or my soon to be released sock pattern, broken rib, but you can't really tell because of all of the colors, right? Look at this like little ankle section. That's just kind of like what you get when you do a heel flap and gusset. Like the increases for the gusset kind of throw off your striping pattern. So it just gets a little funky, but it's okay because he likes it. See, that would bother me, but he thinks it's the coolest thing in the world. So I'm fine with it. Dyed this yarn myself. I'm sure I've said that. It's just orange and navy and like a nice light blue. This is the sole of the sock. You can see the little heel flap in there. Little heel flap, so cute. And for me, if I were making these for me, I would have just done vanilla socks because I prefer the look of this. This is the top of the foot. I just don't know. I feel like the texture with the stripes, I'm just not a fan of it, but it's okay because they're not my socks. So, oh my goodness, what am I saying? So this pattern is my sock pattern that's going to be released probably next month. Half finished object, like I said. I started the second sock. Now I just have a little baby toe. Just have a little itty bitty toe. Couple rounds of the pattern done. That's my beginning of round marker. And this is what my ball of yarn looks like. It's real pretty. I really like this. So I have not been working on socks as much because number one, you're not going to be able to tell, but when I knit with 9-inch circulars, this is kind of a long story, so bear with me. I learned to knit when I was 8 years old, so I learned to hold knitting needles the way a child would, and then that's just been my grip for the last 17 years, as I've just held my knitting needles like, I don't have needles to show you. I've just held my knitting needles with like my entire hand because I learned when I was a child. And then when I finally got 9-inch circulars, I don't use them for my socks because my feet are too itty bitty, just so little. No, my foot circumference is not 9 inches, so it's hard to fit a sock, which is meant to have negative ease anyway. It's hard to fit a sock that is smaller than 9 inches on a 9-inch needle. So I don't use 9-inch circulars for my own socks. I use Magic Loop or DPNs. I learned how to knit in the round on DPNs, but tangent. Oh, so when I finally got 9-inch circular needles, I had to like really adjust the way that I was holding them, and I like pinkies out. And then I also changed the way that I like push the needles in. So when I'm knitting with big boy needles, I can just kind of use the weight of the needle to move the yarn like off the end of the needle to finish the stitch, you know? But on these itty bitty babies, I don't really have that leverage to move the stitch off the needle with the needle tip itself, so I have to push with my finger. And because they're such a small, and they're chow goose, so they're super sharp, and because it's such a small point, I have literally poked a hole into my freaking dermis. And then I was a silly goose, so I have a callus on my left finger and I have a hole on my right finger, and the callus was annoying me, so I filed it off, and then I could no longer knit on 9-inch circulars because I couldn't push with either finger. Long story. So I haven't gotten that much done on these two socks, even though, you know, it's been 3 weeks since I last podcasted and you haven't seen these socks, so you don't know how much progress I should or should not have made, but I'm just telling you, if I was not silly in my needle poking, I probably would have made a lot more progress. So, tangent aside, brings me to my third sock whip, even though I just said that I have not been knitting socks as much. So, third sock whip. This is a pair of socks for my best friend, Noelle. Her favorite color is purple, so of course, sorry, let me move my cord. Of course I have some purple socks. I was dyeing yarn last week, and this skein that I will show you, it's in a ball, so pardon. This skein was a yarn mop for some other purple dyes that I had going on. And so I just like dip dyed this skein, and so it came out this like super dark, like rich royal purple, and then a really light lavender, and it looks so cool. And then I was like, oh my gosh, Noelle would love this because she loves purple. And so I texted her and I was like, would you like a pair of hand knit socks? And she was like, oh my god, I would love nothing more. She was like, I would be so honored if you were to knit me a pair of socks, because I've knit her so many things in the past. And she's like, I still have everything you ever knitted me. I would love to add socks to my literal wardrobe of items. So I have, it's just a baby toe. This is going to be, again, my ribbed pattern, just because I want to make sure that it's going to fit her. But this is a 64 stitch sock. Going to be toe up, heel flap, and gusset. US 1, 2.25 millimeter magic loop. Have I said that? Oh! This yarn I have not mentioned. This is on a US 0 2mm needle, and that's because I don't like this yarn. This yarn for my boyfriend's socks, it's a yarn base that I don't like, but I'm just trying to use it up because I ordered it to test it out, and then I decided I don't like it, so I'm just trying to use it up. This is a 75/25 superwash merino 4-ply, which is number one, not my favorite yarn construction anyways. And then number two, I think it's too thin. I don't think it's twisted enough. I think it's too splitty, yada yada. It's on a US 0 needle because if it was to be on a US 1, it would have like holes and stuff, and you don't want that in your socks. So. US 0. 2mm needle, 64 stitches still. It makes a great fabric with a US 0. Have I said that? That this is 64 stitches as well. For the most part, my socks are 64 stitches when I'm knitting for other people. For myself, they are 56. Now I have shown almost all of my whips, except for the big Kahuna. Now, the big Kahuna, if you've been watching for a long time, you may already know what it is, and maybe you can even tell by the sound of my clinking needles. And maybe you can tell by the way that I am aggressively arranging my many, many balls of yarn that are falling out. So I currently have, oh my goodness, where are they? I currently have 5 balls of yarn attached to this because I'm working on so many aspects of it at once. And oh my goodness, what is happening here? Okay, okay. Can we lift it up? It's my cloud watching sweater. My beautiful, enormous, big pink mohair sweater. It's actually so heavy and I cannot wait to wear this because it's so soft too. So I have not shown this all month, I don't think. Last time I podcasted, I had not worked on it nearly at all. I think I had said I had done like 2 rows on the body, so I didn't think it was worth showing. Oh my. It's almost done. I didn't even show you the most impressive part is the fact that I have a second sleeve going on. There's my little face. So this sleeve was done last time I showed it to you. And then I worked on the body. I probably did a couple good inches on the body. And I started the second sleeve. So this is really almost done. I'm really excited. And holding it up to myself like right now. Let's back up. I stopped knitting on the body because I was like, ooh, I think this might be long enough to start the hem. And then I was like, ooh, I should really do the second sleeve so I can try it on and make sure I like it. So I started the second sleeve, I paused the body, started the second sleeve. A little bit of an ADHD sweater. But yeah, very excited. I think it's almost done. I was about to make a very silly promise and say, ooh, maybe I'll wear it next episode of the podcast. I'm sure that won't be happening, but you know, a boy can dream. So yeah, I just want to have it on me. It's I should probably explain what this is. This is the Cloud Watching sweater, which is a pattern by Suzanne Sommer. In her pattern, she uses, I believe it's either a lace or fingering weight merino yarn held with a mohair, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to hold a DK weight yarn with a mohair, so I'm just doing that. So it is, I'm sure, much heavier than her original pattern intended, but it's also going to be insanely warm. I don't know why I said but, because that wasn't a contradictory statement. It's going to be heavy and warm and squishy and soft, and it's brioche, or pearl brioche, on the front and back panels. And then it is garter stitch on the sleeves. So it's going to be a very, very squishy fabric. And then I'm gonna, you know, pick up the neckband and do a little neckband. What else shall I say about this? Oh, dyed the yarn myself. How could I forget? So the mohair is just a plain silver mohair. And then the pink is some of my very first hand-dyed yarn. I originally dyed that yarn for a Christmas sweater 6 years ago. I knit myself a flax light with that yarn and never wore it. And I recently frogged the flax light so I can make this sweater. Because in my head, I'm like, I never wore a regular pink sweater, but I will wear a pink mohair sweater. Okay, so that is all of, no it's not, no it is not, I was gonna say that's all of my works in progress. Guess what you didn't expect? Spinning. So the spinning bug recently bit me. I know I said last time, I'm like, I have not had any spinning mojo whatsoever, and it's been quite a while since I spun the first ply of the yarn that I'm about to show you. It's not yarn, it's just a single, but ta-da! Last time I showed this to you, I had like this much. I had like 10 grams, and I think this is somewhere between like 30 and 40 grams probably. I only have a little bit of yarn, a little bit of fiber left to spin. This is from Paradise Fibers. I believe it's 100% merino. The colorway is Mystic Forest. It's just this really beautiful blue and purple and pink fiber. And so this is going to be a 2-ply yarn. I have 1 ply already done, like a 50-gram ply already completely done, because this was a 100-gram braid. And like I said, this is probably somewhere between 30 and 40 grams. So it's almost done. I just have a little bit left to spin, and then I'll ply them together. And it's kind of been a while in between the first ply and the second ply, so they may be uneven. So my finished yarn could be more like a boucle, but it's fine. And I know I've like had all of these plans that I've like just spewed out over what I'm going to knit with this. I originally was like, oh, I'm gonna knit a hat, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna knit mittens, oh, I'm gonna knit blah blah blah. I have been on a shawl kick for some dang reason. I hardly ever wear shawls. I never wear them out. I only wear them when I'm in my house. But I have just been like, the socks aren't doing it for me, and usually that's like my go-to project is my socks. I have a very vast collection of socks, and I've knit plenty for other people as well. So usually socks are like my go-to thing, and they're super portable. I was gonna say travelable. It's not the right word. They're super portable, so I can take them with me. I can take them in the car or take them on walks, stuff like that. I have just not been getting the satisfaction from knitting socks recently. So I'm like, what else can I knit? I can knit a shawl. I don't know why. I'm just like in a lace shawl mood. It's strange. But I've been like favoriting a bunch of patterns on Ravelry for like lacy shawls, and I'm like, oh, it would be so nice to knit a shawl out of my hand spun. And I also have a very, very similar braid from Paradise Fibers. Ooh, I cannot remember the name, but it's like this same shade of blue and then some like teal greens thrown in there. I'm like, that would be so beautiful to have like the blue, the two, whew, wow. Note to self, caffeinate more heavily before podcasting. It would be so beautiful to have the blue and purple yarn and then the blue and green yarn together in a shawl. That's what's happening in my head. It would be like very like mermaidy in my mind. But that's what's been happening up here in the brain. Yarn dyeing. I'm just going to insert a video. I don't know if you guys saw my first ever YouTube short, but I have, because I've not podcasted in the last 3 weeks, I feel obligated to tell you that I have a buttload, an actual buttload of yarn that went up into my Etsy shop recently over the past couple weeks. I've just been kind of dyeing yarn nonstop. I actually have like a mega ton of ideas for a spring collection. A collection, I know, that's wild for me. Usually I'm the type of yarn dyer who just like grabs 2 to 3 skeins and is like, that's what I wanted to do today. Those are the colors that spoke to me today. And they're just like a super limited run, few of a kind, unrepeatable colorway most of the time. Sometimes I'll write down my recipe. A lot of times I'll write down my recipe in case I ever want to recreate it for myself. But this time I'm like, I'm gonna do a collection. It's gonna be, you know, spring and nature inspired and stuff. And that's just, you know, strange for me. I'm not really a collection type of yarn dyer, but I've just had so many ideas. I'm like, this would make a really cool collection. So I've been dyeing a lot of yarn not related to the collection that is in the shop. And then all collection yarn will be released at once. What was I saying? I was saying that I don't have any of the yarn with me that I have dyed recently because it is like 30 skeins. So I don't know if you saw my YouTube short. That was like a that was like a little video of me showing you all of the yarn that's in the shop laid out on the bed. I can reinsert it if you didn't see the short. So that's the yarn that's in the shop, and then obviously all of the other yarn that I've shown in the past. That's all. Most of it is still in the shop. So if you have seen anything that tickles your fancy, go ahead and look. The last thing on the docket is boyfriend knitting, and guess what? It's going to be a short and sweet little boyfriend knitting conclusion because we have a finished object. Ta-da! It's so cute! It's so cute. So this is my boyfriend's first ever finished object. He knit grandma's favorite dishcloth with no holes, so reverse yarn overs instead of the regular kind. This is some cotton yarn we got at Joann's. This is his first ever finished object. He made a Ravelry project page and everything, so it's real. Look at that. Literally look at it though, because this is insane. Like I said, I taught him how to knit the first week of January, so he's been knitting for all of 2 months. Look at that. It's so good. I'm so proud. So that's all we have today for boyfriend knitting. And I neglected to mention that today is the last day of February. So you know what that means? It's time for February roundup. I brought my phone out here so I could check my Ravelry and show you or tell you everything that I finished in the month of February. So the first thing is the pair of black and gray commission socks. The second is the blue socks that I knit for my boyfriend for Valentine's Day. Then I have the second black and gray commission socks for my coworker. I have the neon Mussel Faker hat that I showed you today. And I have the blue socks that I showed you today. They are buried. So, neon Mussel Faker and my blue socks. And that's it, I think. What is that, 5 items? Better than January roundup, because that was only, what, 2 or 3 items? Okay. So I think that concludes today's episode. It was kind of low energy, kind of weird with the lighting situation happening behind me. I'm so sorry. That's just nature, man. It's just nature. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you stuck with me this far. I'm sure it was quite painful for some of you. But until next time, which is hopefully fairly soon, until next time, I hope you enjoy your knitting and or making, crochet, spinning, yarn tying. Happy crafting! There we go. And I will see you very soon.